Hello there, it is Suzy Walker here from Psychologies Magazine. I am rather thrilled and starstruck to be joined today by the wonderful Laura Adlington, who is Bakeoff finalist, star of Bakeoff. Lovely to meet you, Laura.
Oh, so lovely to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
But we're here not to talk about Bakeoff though. We're talking
No, not today.
about Brew Monday, which is a new initiative by Samaritans, which is helping us. Brew Monday is the most miserable day of the year. It's the first, is it the third Monday of January or something like that?
That's right. Yeah, that's it.
And what we're trying to do is get everyone together to start to listen to each other. But Laura, you're one of Samaritans ambassadors. What has made you get involved with Samaritans?
Well, I decided to become a volunteer a couple of years ago now. I've always been really passionate about mental health. I think having struggled with it myself from like a really young age, I always remember feeling like even from kind of really like sort of 13, 14, feelings of anxiety. And I think later on when I was a student, I think kind of got into quite a sort of depressive state. And so I really wanted to kind of give back and provide support to people. And so, yeah, I decided to become a Samaritans volunteer and haven't really looked back since. It's something that is a real privilege to be able to do and help people out in their time of need. And it probably sounds a bit strange, but I really enjoy doing it. So I think lending myself to this campaign, it just sort of felt like a natural fit, really, try and get people talking and raise awareness of the great work that Samaritans is doing.
Yeah, I mean, so there's so much there. I mean, can I just first of all acknowledge you for actually getting involved with Samaritans and doing that work, because it's such important work. The idea of learning how to listen and to do that. So tell us a little bit about the training that you go through to become a Samaritan.
Yeah, it's quite a lengthy process. Obviously, they want to make sure that you're ready to be able to take calls, because a lot of the calls, they can be very sensitive, and sometimes you are dealing with people that are in a really dark place. A lot of the training is focused around listening techniques, and a lot of people think that they're good listeners, and then that's not always the case. And so a lot of the training is around, how to empathise with people rather than sympathise, because it's not obviously about you as a volunteer, as a listener, it's about the person on the call. So what they try and teach you is to like empathize with people, acknowledge how they're feeling, be encouraging, and not give advice. And I think sometimes, when we talk to family or friends, it's not their fault, but they just want the best for you. And a lot of the time they will give advice. And I think the beauty of Samaritans is that sometimes you just want to rant, don't you? Just get it off your chest. And with Samaritans, you can. And so a lot of the training is around just listening, allowing people to kind of get things off their chest, validating their feelings, and then just providing emotional support and encouragement when needed.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking there is a kind of we talk about this at Psychologies all the time. So in a kind of a therapeutic space or in a coaching space, it's about really hearing people, reflecting back to what they're hearing, keeping your mouth zipped basically, and saying thing, but just say, okay, so that's how you're feeling. Give me an example of that. Give me an example of how you might, normal interactions is, yeah, I feel like that too. And oh yeah, that happened to me. And I'll tell you what you should do. You should do this, this, and this. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying because you don't get a chance to be heard or be felt.
Yeah,
so
it's so true.
What advice would you give to somebody who is in that situation where you just want to be heard, and so you're on the other side of that, and the other person is telling you how to live your life differently, giving their experiences? What do we do when we just say, I just want to be heard? How do we stop them giving us bloody advice?
It's a tough one. It's really tough, and I find that really difficult. But sometimes I think we just need to say to people and be honest and just say, look, I really appreciate it. I know you've got my best interests at heart, but I don't need your advice or your commentary. I just need you to listen. And I've said that to my mum, right? So my mum was my biggest fan, my biggest cheerleader, and she always had my best interests at heart. But sometimes I just want to talk, and I just don't want the advice, that motherly kind of. And I have actually in the past said to her, like, just enough. Like, I don't need advice. And I think that actually that's okay. Like, you're allowed to say that. So I think it's about being honest and having a conversation with people. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. So I suppose as well, it's about picking people that, you know, that you think that might be able to kind of veer away from that kind of advice, and just be there for you, and listen. And it is a hard skill, and it's certainly, you know, I think a lot of the time we listen to respond. So it's something that you have to kind of practice and be good at. But that's, I think, a lot of what this campaign is about as well. It's all very well saying to people about talking and opening up, but actually we need to be talking to people about how to listen as well, and that's a big part of this campaign.
Yeah. I think, and again, it's, as you say, it's a real skill that you learn, isn't it? It's a skill that you learn versus how does it help people, you know, with, I mean, you suffered from anxiety yourself. How does it help to be heard, to be listened to? How does that help you?
it's it's something that it might seem really small, but actually to have your feelings acknowledged and to have someone just listen, is often all you need. It kind of validates how you feel. It kind of gives you a bit of room to breathe without somebody talking at you or giving advice. And often what I find, obviously when I'm volunteering at Samaritans, is that the amount of people that at the end of the call will just say to me, thank you just for listening. And yet you actually haven't really done much apart from kind of a bit of gentle encouragement. But they're so grateful because you have just listened. It can mean the world to people, and it can make all the difference sometimes between life and death.
Yeah. I think it's that space, that non-judgmental, caring place. And
Yeah,
that in the Samaritans tips, the number one was show you care.
yeah,
I mean, it's,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know, by sort of saying, "Oh, are you okay?" So often people don't want to open up. Is there a good
Mm.
question to start when somebody is sort of, you can, okay, first of all, is how do you spot when perhaps somebody needs to talk? And secondly, what's a good question to start that process on?
So a lot of the time it will start with perhaps people being perhaps a bit withdrawn, not acting themselves. They might be um, perceived as being a little bit kind of either, or maybe erratic, or with like, it can go either way. But you know, if that person's close to you, it's normally quite easy to pick up those kind of telltale signs. And I think it can be as simple as starting with a "How are you?" Oh no, but how are you really? Um, and it's about probing a little bit, especially I think sometimes, you know, I've got a lot of friends that are really outgoing and bubbly, and it's always the same response. Yeah, I'm great. How are you? And it's like, so sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper and trying to get beyond that superficial "I'm fine." And that can be a challenge. But I think once you've done that, it's just about, yeah, as I say, opening up and making sure that people know that you're there for them. And yeah, I think it's really important that you do sort of check in on people, and you kind of get to the nitty gritty.
I love that question. How are you really? Because as you say, most people go, "Yeah, I'm fine," and moving on. But how
Yeah,
you really kind of creates a pause. But I think it's really hard sometimes for people to be vulnerable, isn't it? So often
yeah,
I think this sort of this Brew Monday will perhaps be a good place to start. We're not talking about necessarily strangers. We're perhaps talking about our family, especially right now in
mm,
in lockdown. But it's the people around us, is giving them the space. And I mean, in our house we have this wooden spoon thing where we, my son and I and my boyfriend, what we'll do is we'll have a meeting once a week and we say wooden spoon, and we get to talk about how we're feeling and da da da. No one else
uh-huh,
interrupt, and then the other people have got to go. So what you're saying is da 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 da. And we go, yeah, that's it. And it's creating something a bit fun or a bit silly with a wooden spoon around that. But it's about doing that. So tell us a little bit about what Brew Monday is specifically, and how you could set that up on Monday to start listening to the people around you.
mm. Yeah, so Brew Monday is, it's not like necessarily just Monday. It's about really like a whole winter campaign to try and get people talking, get them connecting, and to get people listening. So it's about reaching out to somebody, a friend, a family member, anybody, over a virtual cup of tea or coffee or whatever your drink of choice is, and just really engaging with them, connecting with them, and just checking in and making sure they're okay. Because we're living in really tough times. They're unprecedented. I know I hate that word, everyone keeps saying it, but it's so true. And we're all fighting our own sort of little individual battles, some big, some small. So yeah, it's really just about reaching out and connecting to somebody and having a meaningful conversation.
Yeah. And do we need a cup of tea though for Brew Monday?
You don't have to have a cup of tea. I think it helps to have a cup of tea and some biscuits personally, but no, it's really just about reaching out, whether that's text, Zoom. Obviously we can't do it face to face at the moment, which is challenging. But it's more important than ever that we do reach out virtually to people. So yeah, cup of tea is optional.
Yeah. But as you say, what we're saying is maybe create a meeting online and say, oh, let's just have a chat. And
Yeah.
ask that question, how are you? But no, how are you really? And then what I'm hearing you say is to listen, to ask open questions, to reflect back,
Yeah.
not to give advice, not trying
all of
to,
those things.
yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's really hard to make that first step with somebody. If you're the person that's feeling low and that you need to connect with someone, personally, if I'm in a really dark place or I'm feeling anxious, I actually just want to shut the world away. I don't want to talk to anyone, and that can last between 1 to 3 days. But what I try and do is I make myself, because I know every single time I feel better for talking to someone at the end of it. So it's about saying to people, I'm sure there's lots of people like me in the same position, don't be afraid, get yourself out of that funk if you can. Try and talk to somebody, reach out to somebody you trust, and hopefully with the kind of campaign and what we're kind of trying to sort of teach people about listening, they will listen, and they will be there to support you. So it's just about talking, opening up, and having that meaningful conversation with people.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. So when we feel in that dark place, I mean, that's right. I call it duvet days. I just put, the duvet over my head and I just don't want to talk to anyone. But as soon, and I just feel so miserable. And, and I'm the editor at Psychology. And I have all of these tips and all of these things. But I think you're right. The very simple piece about just reaching out to somebody and being heard and listened to is a very soothing kind thing, especially for people perhaps who are on their own in lockdown. I think it's more important than ever that we
definitely.
and if you can't find there's Samaritans, that's what this is for.
Absolutely. I think there's quite a common misconception sometimes with Samaritans, in that people think that it's only there if you are feeling suicidal. Of course, we're there for people that are, but actually, it's that if you're just feeling low or you're in a kind of in a bad emotional state, you can still call us. And I think that's the beauty of it. People don't always understand that we do that, and that's a wonderful thing. We are seeing an increasing number of people that are not just talking about COVID now, but about loneliness and isolation. That has really increased. So, as I say, it's more important than ever, really, that, people there is help available. You can reach out. There is somebody at the end of the phone 24/7 that is there to listen and support.
Yeah, I mean, psychology is what we believe is, no matter how dark, what we're all about is no matter how dark it gets, no matter how awful you feel, there is always hope. There's always somebody that you can reach out to. There's always a way through. I mean, so, I'm a massive believer in therapy and counseling, but other people see swimming or but the main thing is with amazing charities like Samaritans is that there's always someone there on the end of the line. You don't have to give up. You don't have to, suffer alone. There is hope. And Laura, I just want to again acknowledge you for the amazing, for lighting up our screens on Bakeoff, but also for being an ambassador for Samaritans and shining that light and being honest about your own anxiety and your own, that we've all been in those awful places and there is a way through.
There absolutely is. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me today.
Lots of love. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.